I've been putting together a budget army for One Page Rules Grimdark Future or Warhammer 40k from these Wargames Atlantic kits, a series I'm calling Krieg on a budget. This is episode 2. Coming home from Adepticon, my heart and soul were full to the brim. Physically though, I was trashed. So I wanted to work on something easy and relaxing, create some quick momentum to get me back into the swing of things. And assembling a few weapons teams from this Grognard's Command and Heavy Support kit seemed like the way to go. This kit will easily build 6 weapons teams with all the options for firepower you'd want to see. However, rather than overwhelm myself and keep this project quick and easy, I decided to build and paint 3 teams. Enough for a complete unit. Sometimes, maybe even oftentimes, the way to do more in the long term is to do less in the short term. Take small, achievable steps to build momentum for the larger steps, projects, etc. to come. That's the idea, at least. My initial list for Grimdark Future, or what we're now calling Grimjank, thanks Spooky, has a mortar, a heavy machine gun, and a laser cannon. I'm certain that's going to change as I play more, but you gotta start somewhere. And this is where I'm starting. I know if I spend too much time trying to make a decision, the decision will never actually get made. So I just make it quick and move on. These kits from Wargames Atlantic don't come with instructions, which is perfect for me as I tend not to follow them anyways. They're quite simple to assemble, and looking at the box should steer you in the right direction. A notable change I made was to turn the front support legs around. In an effort to make my budget Krieg Warhammer 40k friendly, I've been ensuring I put everything on the appropriate bases. Turning that front leg the wrong way helped fit everything onto the 50mm round base. Finally, these kits come with loads of different head options, with something to fit whatever aesthetic you're going for. If you've seen the first video in this series though, you know there's only one option for us. These awesome minis, and so many others, come from today's sponsor, Wargames Atlantic. Whether you're looking for classic fantasy, dystopian future, or historical 28mm hard plastic miniatures, Wargames Atlantic has got you covered. I've been using their kits for a couple of years, mostly as kit bash fodder, as they've got so many excellent bits that are all interchangeable. Add futuristic weapons to historical minis? No problem. Skull heads for virtually anything? Yep, that too. And recently I've been building entire armies for reasonable prices with their kits. If you'd like to get some for yourself, head to the link in the description. There's absolutely no cost to you, but it will drop a coin or two in my tip jar. Thanks Wargames Atlantic for supporting independent creators. Now, back to the Grimjank. Over the past year or two, I've been able to achieve pretty good results with my paint jobs fairly quickly. This could be attributed to several things. Certainly not ever blending, ever, speeds things up quite a bit. But I think the greatest contributor is getting rid of boring black base coats, starting with color instead. In this case, grunge brown. This allows me to create more interesting atmosphere, or tell a story, in a much easier way. The deepest recesses and shadows don't ever need to be touched again, as they've already got some color, meaning nothing ever really looks unpainted. By picking 1 or 2 things to focus on, the minis quickly look pretty good, particularly on the tabletop. And since these are war dollies for playing games with my friends, that's all I truly care about. These dudes and their weapons were gonna be 2 things: rusty, dusty metal, and the blue jackets, enough to make them look cool with very little time invested. Again, I'm just looking to field painted war dollies and build a bit of momentum after some time away. For the blue, I started with abyssal turquoise and my sketchy, scratchy lines on the jackets and some of the casing of the weapons. Despite the name, I find this paint to be a rather nice blue that retains a rich blue hue as I mix in more and more ice yellow. I'm not aiming for perfect highlights or anything even remotely close. Simply looking to add some impactful highlights where I think they look good, or cool I guess, towards the center of each weapon or the middle of each little dude. For all the metal on these dudes, like the helmets and masks, and the majority of the weapons, I went back to the method I've been playing with since finding a few metallic paints I don't hate. This time, mostly overbrushing on this chainmail silver. I don't care about getting a unified coat of this paint all over the metal areas. Leaving random patches of the underpainted grunge brown, particularly in the recesses, will ultimately help make it look extra rusty and dusty, which is the end goal. With a nice rough coat of the chainmail down, I grabbed whatever bright orange was nearby, diluted it down to a thin wash, and started slopping it all over the metallic paint. You don't need to worry about over-thinning the paint here. If the effect isn't strong enough when dry, simply add more layers of the wash. I tend to go back in and apply more of the orange to specific areas where I want a stronger rust look. Once all the orange wash was dry, I went back in with a chainmail and brought some highlights back in a few select areas, like the front of the helmets and gas masks, helping to draw attention towards the face of these little dudes. Sticking with the basing I had done with the cavalry unit from episode 1 of this series, I mixed up a wash of pigment powder and water, then slapped it onto the bases and lower parts of the minis. And after a victory lap of black around the base rims, these weapon teams were ready for some grimjank. So, there you go. Another unit of my grimjank Krieg. They're done in pretty short order, but I think they look pretty good. Like the idea of walking before you run, I think it's important to knock out something very bite-sized and achievable when you've been away from the hobby desk for a bit. Build up that sense of accomplishment and momentum in order to get the mojo back and achieve even more. Completing even the smallest of projects and moving on to another is better than starting something major and never actually completing it. Well, that's my take at least. Your mileage may vary. Do what feels best and have fun. Most importantly, thanks for watching. You are awesome.